Okay, when you think of an influencer, you're probably picturing someone on social media, right? But what if I told you that one of the original, like the OG influencers, was a classical music composer from the 1800s? Yep, no Wi-Fi, no followers, just pure genius. We're talking about Felix Mendelssohn, and his story is pretty wild.
Seriously, what if a teenager, someone not much older than you are right now, totally changed the direction of music forever? This isn't just a hypothetical question. It actually happened.
17. Yeah, just let that sink in for a second. At 17, while most of us are just trying to figure out high school, Felix Mendelssohn was composing a world-famous masterpiece. So, how does a teenager even get that good? Let's get into it.
All right, so first up, the original music prodigy. And that subtitle? It's no joke. His training was basically a pro gamer's boot camp. See, Felix didn't just grow up in a nice house. He grew up in this epic creative hub. His family was wealthy and knew everybody. Their home was a non-stop hub for the most brilliant artists and thinkers of the day. For him and his sister Fanny, who was also crazy talented, music wasn't just some after-school hobby. It was everything.
Just take a look at this. On the left, you've got a pretty standard day for a teenager, right? School, maybe some sports, social media, homework, you know the drill. Now look at Felix's day. His school was piano lessons. His sports practice was violin lessons. His version of scrolling social media was composing music, learning multiple languages, and drawing. The guy was in a 24/7 genius training camp with private tutors for literally everything. And, spoiler alert, it worked.
So, all of that intense training, all that grinding, it was about to have a massive payoff. Because at just 17, Felix dropped a piece that would make him a star overnight.
He took Shakespeare's famous play, A Midsummer Night's Dream, and basically turned it into sound. He wrote this piece, an overture, which is kind of like the theme music before a movie starts, and it was mind-blowing. He perfectly captured this magical fairy tale world. The music is so light and inventive, you can literally picture fairies zipping around. It was an instant hit, and just like that, this teenager was a superstar all across Europe.
But here's the thing about Mendelssohn. He wasn't just about writing his own hits. He was also a massive music nerd, a historian. And his next big project was like a rescue mission. You could almost think of it as him trying to bring a legendary lost online game server back to life.
You've all heard the name Johann Sebastian Bach, right? I mean, he's a giant, but here's the crazy part. Back in the early 1800s, almost nobody knew who he was. His music was seen as this super old-fashioned, ridiculously complicated stuff. It was brilliant, for sure, but so complex that musicians had basically just given up on it.
So check this out. In 1729, Bach first performs his huge masterpiece, the St. Matthew Passion. And, well, crickets. 100 years go by. 100 years. Bach's music is just collecting dust. Then, in 1829, along comes Mendelssohn. He's convinced this music is too good to be lost. He organizes and conducts this massive, sold-out performance of that exact same piece in Berlin. And this time, people went absolutely wild for it.
That one concert basically rebooted Bach's entire career. It was like a forgotten artist suddenly going viral a century later. Honestly, without Mendelssohn digging through the archives, we might have lost some of the greatest music ever written.
Okay, so he's a hit composer, he's a music historian. What's next? Well, Mendelssohn wasn't content to just play the game. He decided to build the whole game world. He set his sights on the city of Leipzig and decided to turn it into the ultimate hub for music.
And he totally leveled up the city. Step 1, he took over as conductor of the main orchestra there in 1835. Step 2, he pushed the musicians to their limits, raising the standards until they were one of the best in all of Europe. Step 3, and this is super important, he fought for his players to get better pay and more respect. And finally, step 4, he founded an academy to train the next generation of superstars. He was building an entire musical ecosystem from the ground up.
And that school, the Leipzig Conservatory, was a total game changer. It was the first modern music university in Germany and became the blueprint for how to train professional musicians. And get this, it's still one of the best and most famous music schools in the world today. Now that's a legacy.
So let's talk about his own music and why we're still listening to it. Because on top of everything else, this guy traveled a lot, and his travels directly inspired some of his most famous compositions. He was like a travel influencer, but instead of posting pics, he wrote symphonies.
So he takes a trip to Scotland and sees this incredible sea cave. The result? His Hebrides Overture.
When you listen to it, it literally sounds like giant waves crashing against cliffs. It's so powerful and atmospheric, you can almost feel the cold ocean spray. It's a painting made of sound.
Then he travels to Italy, and it's a completely different vibe. All that sunshine and energy inspired his Italian symphony. A symphony is a huge piece for a full orchestra, usually in 4 parts. And this one, it's just pure joy. It feels like a giant, non-stop dance party. He was literally turning his vacations into musical masterpieces.
So let's do a quick recap. The guy revived Bach from obscurity, founded a legendary music school, wrote iconic symphonies about his travels, composed a masterpiece as a teenager, and he was a personal favorite of Queen Victoria. His resume is absolutely stacked.
But here's the part that's really tough. He accomplished all of this by the age of 38. The constant work, the pressure, the travel, it all caught up with him. He died incredibly young, leaving behind this massive legacy in such a short amount of time.
In the end, his life was short, but his impact was huge. His elegant and super expressive style became the perfect bridge connecting the structured music of the past with the passionate, emotional music of the future. He was a link between 2 entire musical eras.
So that leaves us with a pretty big question. Who's the Mendelssohn of our generation? I mean, who out there right now isn't just making great stuff, but is also reviving forgotten art, building new platforms for other creators, and completely changing the game for everyone? It's definitely something to think about.